info after the video. New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe has more to offer beyond the main game, and that of course is all the challenges. I know the boost block stages aren't in the Switch version, but I never found any of those that hard, and Deluxe just looks a tad bit better anyway. But regardless, each level in this challenge mode could be considered difficult if we're basing it off getting a gold medal, so this is based more in a general sense of what the task is and what the obstacles are. So without further ado, let's go! Our first level involves lots and lots of climbing. Stoneslide Tower Climb has you completing the castle from World 2 in under 90 seconds or less. And for most of the challenges, you aren't going to be allowed to get hit at any point, so it's good to keep that in mind as an extra barrier that Mario has to endure. Now normally, this level isn't that bad if you just take your time and kill enemies along the way, but obviously you can't do that here. If you make one or two mistakes, you're either not going to make it to the top or it'll be a really close call. And since you have to move fast, it makes it a lot easier to make dumb mistakes like falling into the sand or running into an enemy and things like that. You kinda just have to learn how to create your own shortcuts, like spinning these wheels for like a second instead of just sticking the whole platform out like you'd normally do. Figuring this out and improving your time is quite thrilling and exciting, but it can also be frustrating when you keep dying over the dumbest things. The end is definitely the hardest part because the wall jumps you have to do to get up faster than usual can be quite tricky to pull off correctly. This one is so high on the list because there's only some moments where things can get complicated. A lot of the stage just requires well-timed jumps and nothing beyond that. And believe me, we're just scratching the surface. I really debated on putting this one on the list, and some of you may not agree, but I freaking hate the Haunted Propeller. This is probably the shortest challenge on our list. You basically have to beat the level in 50 seconds or less while using the propeller suit. And you might think that using such an OP power-up would make this really easy, but as we've already seen, there's circles of boos all over the place. And some of them detract and expand, making it harder to predict their movement. While I've completed this challenge a few times, the sheer nature of the propeller suit requires you to understand its physics perfectly and having a great reaction time too. When you fly up into the air, you fly and shoot off like a goddamn rocket. With some practice, the first half of this level isn't that bad, it's the ending that grinds my gears. You go up a few floors and there's like 3 or 4 of these circling boos that overlap with each other, so you have to perfectly time your propeller jump or you'll get hit and have to start all over. Depending on when you get to this part, it can either be easy or insanely hard. Maybe I'm just bad at using this power-up, but I found myself constantly getting hit by boos when I felt like I was far enough away from it. You ever seen those videos where YouTubers try to not collect coins? You may or may not have. Castle Coin Bypass basically introduces the idea through this challenge. The goal here is to not touch a single coin. However, you are allowed to grab 5, but you get penalized the more you grab. You'd think this wouldn't be that big a deal, but the coins are put in some of the most ridiculous places, especially on these swinging platforms near the beginning. Like, look at how precise your jump has to be to avoid all these. It's ridiculous. You can use dry bones to hop over these particular coins, but your timing has to be immaculate to make that happen. The middle part of the level is just as ridiculous, as you have to avoid fireballs and carefully time your jumps to avoid those stupid evil coins. Even the question mark blocks have coins in them, so you can't hit those either. But with that said, I found the ending to be the easiest. The coins weren't placed that awkwardly, and I just had to make really tiny jumps to get through it. This isn't the worst avoiding coins challenge in the game, but there's some parts that make me want to chuck my controller into the backyard. Yep, just like that. I'm not gonna lie, I feel pretty screwed over half the time I'm playing Screwtop It Up. This is another challenge where you're climbing a tower and you gotta do it under 90 seconds, but the enemies this time around are much more gruesome. Most of the time you have to spin yourself on these screw-based platforms, and to get through this level at all, you need to spin pretty optimally or you'll lose too much time and not make it. You gotta avoid all these boneheads that shoot spikes through their shell if you get too close, and there's so many sumo bros. Now sumo bros can't be stepped stepped on, they move erratically, and when they stomp their foot, waves of electricity shoots underneath, killing you instantly if you touch it. The movement I have to do for this stage requires much more precision than any of the other levels we've talked about. Like this part here, the fastest way I found to get through this is to jump on this coin block and spin jump at just the right time so I can avoid the Sumo Bros and the Bony Beetle. And there really aren't that many shortcuts to make compared to the other climbing levels. You just need pure skill to get through this. Making the jump over this Sumo Bro near the end is insanely hard. Now sure, you could kill him first, but that takes longer, so to save time you have to jump near perfect to avoid his spiky head and get across. In the very end with all the fire bars is just dreadful. You make all this progress and you just want to finish, but instead the freaking fire bars get in your way half the time and you either get hit by them or you have to wait until they move out of the way. And as if this level didn't throw enough crap at you, after the fire bars is a Sumo Bro waiting at the top that fires electricity almost the second you arrive. Now, I was paying attention, so I didn't get hit by him, but like, come on! That's a cheap shot! You barely have enough time to know he's even gonna be there! This is one of those levels that just genuinely angers me. Its sole purpose in life is to make you feel cheated on. A few of the challenges in this game have some really cool ideas, like this one where you have to jump off a bunch of Goombas consecutively to get lives. This is a really clever way to utilize enemies and is an official nod from Nintendo to those that have discovered the one-up tricks in previous Mario games. But then there's Paratroopa Panic, which is the same idea but done in the most sadistic way possible. At first glance, it looks like a cakewalk. You got 5 Paratroopas, so what do? You bounce the wings off all of them, and then you bounce on them again, and then you realize that this is way harder than it looks. The Koopas take like 5 weeks to come out of their shell again, and the only way to get a medal at all is to get 4 1-ups. And this is a problem because bouncing on every Paratroopa twice only gets you 3. Completing this level requires you to place Paratroopas in extremely specific spots, and you have to figure out how to waste as much time as possible jumping on them so you'll have time to wall jump and hit them again. And you really don't have much room to wall jump either because the walls are relatively short. I have beat this level one time, but it kind of felt like a miracle. The title just speaks for itself. I am in a panic whenever I attempt this challenge. I feel like no matter how well I think I'm doing, it just doesn't want to work. Getting this Monimole to stay on this floating platform all the way until the end of the level is a brilliant concept and makes for a frantically fun time. But then there's Mole to Goal Returns, which takes the same concept, flips it on its head, and laughs at you knowing how much you're gonna die to this. The biggest hurdle is just the amount of multitasking you have to do. Let's just analyze everything that I need to think about while playing this. I need to make sure I don't fall in the lava, don't touch Monimole, don't hit the fireballs or the blargs or I'm gonna die. I also have to do this fast because there's looming poison coming in from behind, but then there's mini Goombas that can stop the ride, so I have to take care of them too. So I gotta stomp on the Goombas or spin jump them off me, all while making sure I don't get hit by anything else and don't accidentally step on the Monimole all at the same time. And then the end throws in a Buzzy Beetle that falls from the ceiling and homes in on the Monimole, so you have to jump on it and throw it out of the way while Monimole is constantly following you around. I guess if you're really good at multitasking, this one may not be that bad, but my god do I find this a pain to complete. I don't know why all these challenges have to be in castles, but Express Elevator is no different. You have to take the elevator all the way to the top without getting a coin or enemy to touch it. The first obstacle is getting really comfortable with turning the elevator with motion controls and moving Mario with the D-pad. This alone makes this challenge way harder than it needs to be. It feels really unnatural doing this when they could have just used, I don't know, the shoulder buttons to move the elevator? Anyway, coins and bombs often come down in parachutes, and if they touch electricity on the way, then the parachute breaks and it'll free fall on you. The coins aren't that bad, it's the bombs that give you issues. You can freeze up a bomb and stop them in their tracks, but even if the ice block touches the elevator, it'll nab you a game over. So what you have to do is freeze any bombs in your way as soon as possible and run underneath and jump. I really struggled with this one for a while until I realized that standing on the left side really helps a lot. There tends to be less bombs on the left side and it just feels a little less cluttered. Yes, this level looks exactly the same as the one before, and that's because it is, except that the elevator is now out of service. But that's okay because Mario does Mario things like using a pea acorn suit, which grants him infinite flying abilities. Like the propeller challenge from earlier, this seems like it'd be easy because the power-up is incredibly useful and versatile, but controlling this thing while avoiding all the falling bombs and waves of electricity is such a chore. Now, maybe I'm just not that great using the acorn suit, but there's lots of moments where you have to be in just the right spot to avoid getting hit by anything. I always felt like I didn't have Mario positioned correctly, so I'd always undershoot or overshoot a flap jump and hit something I wasn't supposed to. If you're someone that's really equipped with the acorn suit, I could see this being a bit higher on your list, but for me, this level gave me more trouble than the other elevator one. And I am done talking about this castle level twice, so let's move on. To unlock Cashless Castle Crawl, you have to get all the star coins in World 8 from the main game, complete World 9-8, and beat the Castle Crawl challenge where you aren't allowed to dash through the entire level. This is the same thing where you can't dash, but now you also can't touch coins. If you touch more than 5 or get hit by something, you go back to the beginning. If you thought jumps had to be tight in previous coinless challenges, those look like baby toys compared to this whopping meal. Like, look at this set of 3 coins near the beginning. Do you see how insanely hard it is to avoid all these coins? It doesn't even look humanly possible. I'm almost always grabbing at least one on the right end. I have done it a few times, but most of the time I just accept that I'm touching that coin and I gotta just move on with my day. And I should also mention that throughout the entire level, you have to constantly walk forward or jump in place because most of the blocks fall underneath you if you stand for too long. And jumping in place is hard to do when you have spiky balls that continuously get in your way. It's really straining on your thumbs after playing for a long time. There's 2 parts in particular that just boggle my mind every time I see them. This first one, you got 2 spike balls swinging back and forth, a platform with 3 little blocks, and a bony beetle. To get through this, you have to do the tiniest jump known to mankind to avoid getting hit, hope the beetle freezes up, stand on this block, let it fall a bit, jump when it's falling, and destroy the beetle, hoping you don't touch the coins up above. And this second part has the dumbest jump I've ever seen. And it's only dumb because it's far away, implying you need to do a big jump to get across, but the coins are in the exact spots you need to be in. And since you're walking the whole time, this level is agonizingly slow to get through, and you have to be patient the whole time, but it's hard to do that when you're constantly dying. Really, the whole level is painful, but these 2 parts push this very close to being number 1 on the list. But I think we already know what number 1 is. You know Nintendo's being serious when they add periods after every word. And for this challenge, don't touch anything, Nintendo rightfully titled this differently from the others because they knew they created a demon. For this level, you aren't allowed to touch coins or enemies. You can grab up to 5 coins, but touching an enemy at all ends your game. The only positive thing I can say is that we're finally not in a castle, but I almost want to go back because this level is so stupidly daunting. One of the most annoying things about it are the Lakitu. For most of the level, you're dealing with anywhere from 1 to 3 Lakitu at a time, and they all throw spinies that get in your way. But since you can't jump on the Lakitu to stop this from happening, you just have to accept your fate and pray the spinies are thrown in places where you can actually avoid them. The coins in this level are the worst part. All of them are put in the most obnoxious spots possible, the worst being those moving alongside the colored platforms. Like, look at these orange platforms. The only way I can avoid the coins is to run forward at the perfect speed and time. You can't mess up your timing at all or you're done for. But the ending is where most sane people would just give up. These red platforms move so stupidly fast, you literally have to make pixel-perfect jumps to avoid touching any coins at all. Even after I practiced a lot, I kept losing at this section and there was nothing I could do except hope that I jump frame perfectly. And as if this level didn't have enough BS, it has the audacity to have an invisible coin block. What the hell is that all about? What is this, a Kaizo hack or an official Mario game? After hundreds of tries, I was able to beat this, but I grabbed 4 coins along the way. There's just a countless amount of factors that get in your way, like the Lakitus throwing spinies, the coin placements, the pixel-perfect jumps. It's just straight up horrible and unforgiving. And with that, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Until next time.